Divrei-hayamim bet 2 Chronicles chapter 34. Yeshayahu was 8 years old when he began his reign, and he ruled for 31 years in Jerusalem. He did what was right from Adonai's perspective, living entirely in the manner of David his ancestor, and turning away neither to the right nor to the left. For in the 8th year of his reign, when he was still young, he began seeking after the God of David his father, and in the 12th year he began cleansing Yehudah and Jerusalem from the high places, the sacred poles, and the carved and cast metal images. In his presence they broke down the altars of the Baalim, and he chopped down the pillars for sun worship mounted above them. He smashed the sacred poles and the carved and cast metal images, grinding them to dust, which he threw on the graves of those who had sacrificed to them. He burned the bones of the priests on their altars, thus cleansing Yehudah and Jerusalem. He did likewise in the cities of Manasseh, Ephraim, Shimon, and even as far as Naphtali, in their surrounding ruins. He broke down the altars, beat the sacred poles, and carved images to powder, and chopped down the pillars for sun worship throughout all the land of Israel. Then he returned to Jerusalem. In the 18th year of his reign, after he had cleansed his land and the house, he sent Shaphan the son of Atzalyahu, Maaseiah, the governor of the city, and Joach the son of Joachaz, the recorder, to repair the house of Adonai his God. They went to Hilkiyahu, the Kohen Hagadol, and handed over to him the money that had been brought into the house of God, which the Leviim who guarded the doors had collected from Manasseh, Ephraim, the rest of Israel, and all Yehudah and Benjamin. Then they returned to Jerusalem. They gave it to the supervisors of the work being done in the house of Adonai, and those doing their work in the house of Adonai used it to repair and restore the house. That is, they gave it to the carpenters and construction workers to purchase worked stone, timber for the cross beams, and roof beams for the house which the kings of Yehudah had destroyed. The men did the work faithfully. Their supervisors were Yachat and Obadiah, Leviim from the descendants of Merari, also Zechariah and Meshulam from the descendants of the Katim, to give direction, and other Leviim, all of whom could accompany singing with musical instruments. They supervised those carrying loads and everyone doing any kind of work, and there were also Leviim who were secretaries, officials, and gatekeepers. While bringing out the money that had been brought into the house of Adonai, Hilkiyahu the Kohen found the scroll of the Torah of Adonai given by Moshe. Hilkiyahu said to Shaphan the secretary, "I found the scroll of the Torah in the house of Adonai." Hilkiyahu gave the scroll to Shaphan. Shaphan the secretary brought the scroll to the king. Turning to the king, he gave him this report: "Your servants are doing everything you ordered them to do. They have poured out the money found in the house of Adonai and handed it over to the supervisors and workers." Then Shaphan the secretary told the king, "Hilkiyahu the Kohen Hagadol gave me a scroll." Shaphan read it aloud before the king. And after the king had heard what was written in the Torah, he tore his clothes. Then the king issued this order to Hilkiyahu: Ahiam, the son of Shaphan, Avdan, the son of Micah, Shaphan, the secretary, and Asaiah, the king's servant. Go and consult Adonai for me and for the people left in Israel and Yehudah in regard to what is written in the scroll which has been found. For Adonai must be furious at us, since our ancestors did not observe the word of Adonai and do everything written in the scroll. So Hilkiyahu and those the king had ordered went to Huldah the prophet, the wife of Shallun, the son of Tokat, the son of Hasrat, keeper of the wardrobe. She lived in the second quarter of Jerusalem, and spoke with her about this. She told them, "Adonai, the God of Israel, says to tell the man who sent you to me that Adonai says this: I am going to bring calamity on this place and on its inhabitants, all the curses written in the scroll they read to the king of Yehudah, because they have abandoned me and offered to other gods in order to provoke me with everything they do. Therefore my anger is poured out on this place and will not be quenched. But you are to tell the king of Yehudah, who sent you to consult Adonai, that Adonai, the God of Israel, also says this: In regard to the words you have heard, because your heart was tender, and you humbled yourself before God, when you heard his words against this place and its inhabitants. You humbled yourself before me, tore your clothes, and cried before me. I have also heard you, says Adonai. Here I will gather you to your ancestors. You will go to your grave in peace, and your eyes will not see all the calamity I am going to bring on this place and its inhabitants. So they brought back word to the king. Then the king summoned and assembled all the leaders of Yehudah and Jerusalem. The king went up to the house of Adonai with all the men of Yehudah, those living in Jerusalem, the Kohanim, the Leviim, and the people both great and small. And he read in their hearing everything written in the scroll of the covenant that had been found in the house of Adonai. The king stood in his place and made a covenant in the presence of Adonai to live following Adonai, observing all his mitzvot, instructions, and laws wholeheartedly and with all his being, so as to perform the words of the covenant written in the scroll. Then, after he had all the people in Jerusalem and Benjamin stand in affirmation of it, the inhabitants of Jerusalem acted in accordance with the covenant of God, the God of their ancestors. Yoshiyahu removed all the abominable idols from all the territories belonging to the people of Israel, and he made everyone in Israel serve Adonai their God. Throughout his lifetime, they did not stop following Adonai, God of their ancestors.